Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas.
I'm Heidi Henry,
And I'm Murray Briel.
talking to you today from the edge of the Great Red Divide.
Oh, what a week. And it's Tuesday when we
Yeah.
record. So tomorrow, many people are really excited about the Mueller testimony. And other people are very nervous. But I think one way or another, there's a lot of energy surrounding tomorrow.
A lot of energy surrounding tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it.
So we kind of wanted, I'm sure everybody has seen their favorite news folks and heard about it and read parts of what they're anticipating for tomorrow. So Heidi and I thought we would give you a lay Midwesterner's view of what our impressions were from having read the Mueller report.
Yes.
And what questions we had
So many
after
questions.
reading the Mueller report.
More questions.
Yeah, and then kind of give some observations. So
Right. So my takeaway over and above everything else is that the Mueller report absolutely, positively proved that Russia interfered in our 2016 election and that they were making plans for that long before, like when
2014, they
Right.
started building their networks
Right.
of late 2014. They started putting their foundation in place for getting in touch with groups and
Yes.
organizations and building their bases on Instagram. And
Started-
that was absolutely chilling to me, Heidi.
That was terrifying. And Russia said that they would take over us, the United States, without firing a shot. Well, here we are.
I think so many more people have become so much more aware of fake news, and clickbait and reporters that aren't really reporters, and checking for biases. And we've talked about that on this show before. It's something that's really important to me because I'd like to have more information rather than less.
Oh, I run everything through Media Fact Check. It's mediafactcheck.com. Every time I get a source, I check that source because a lot of times it's biased one way or the other. And I don't care if it's left bias or right bias. Bias is bad, you know.
See, now what I do is I read whatever it is, and then I look for more articles corroborating it with
Okay.
with different. So I make sure we have 2 or 3 other articles, and that it's
And
actually
I'm
validated. And
a big source checker.
Yeah.
And if the source is out there, I just discount
and
it
I think
immediately.
Americans worldwide, or not just Americans, but worldwide, I think we've become more aware of the influence that the digital world can have on our lives. And that was what was just terrifying to me was, I'm seeing it already again. We're seeing things on Twitter. I'm seeing things on Facebook that just don't seem to make
No.
sense.
I
Something's a little off, and you're
Right.
not sure what. Accounts popping up that had, periodic negative comments about, say, the LGBTQ community by a religious pastor or something like that. And then out of nowhere come these really egregious attacks and all these
Yes.
people tweeting and retweeting him and those sorts of things. When you read the report, you look at that and go, you know what? That's exactly what was going on. Like, so even finding the truth,
excuse me.
the Mueller report shook my faith in anything that was the truth.
Well, we all know, just like the X-Files, the truth is out there. And I always...
Is it the truth if only one person believes it? Is the truth actually quantitative? I mean, honestly.
Well, the truth is the truth. The facts are the facts.
But everyone who reports the facts, everyone who's involved in a situation sees it from a different perspective. So technically,
Well,
I'm going off. Sorry.
You have to, in any type of journalism, there's always personal opinion that comes in, and it used to be that personal opinion had no place in journalism, that it was part of the journalistic
And there was a slight bias. There always has been since
Oh,
the
yeah.
beginning of journalism. There's been a slight slant, but at least you knew you were getting mostly a fair interpretation of what had happened, or at
Right.
least what are considered facts. But facts are called into question so much and people are so blatant in denying what is actually in front of everyone's eyes. The gaslighting literally has me questioning whether something is real. Like,
Well,
it's banana pants. So when you look at that and then you throw in Russia isn't going to stop, it's going to happen again.
It is going to happen again.
I swear we're starting to see it
Yeah.
in some of the things that are being put out there.
Absolutely.
And some of the people who popped up and developed these big followings as everybody riles against them. And we're seeing that with candidates. There's bots out there specifically to drive dysfunction between people and groups on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So we have to be vigilant and really elevate our dialogue, elevate our discussion to being facts and passion. Absolutely. You love a candidate, that's wonderful.
Right.
Or you question something about this candidate. That doesn't mean that you're bashing them.
Well, and I think that my rule of thumb for me personally is if something really upsets me, really pushes all my buttons, I do a little research. That's my go-to, and I do that for everything. I am outraged by children in cages. Is it true? Well, yeah, there's enough journalistic support now to say that is absolutely true and that's absolutely happening. So, but...
And yet there's still denial of it. People who you see pictures of people who are there literally looking
Lindsey Graham,
at what you see.
Oh, I wonder what I'm seeing here,
Literally
I can't do Lindsey
looking
Graham.
at what you see and denying it. We're seeing, this is what I guess I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm watching something, I'm watching that visit on
Right.
television. So
Right.
I'm seeing it through the lens of a camera.
Right.
But I'm seeing everything that they're seeing. I'm seeing that it looks like
Horrifying.
horrific conditions. And
Dystopian.
they're saying everything is okay.
Well, no, okay, so that's not... That's
I-
propaganda. That is called propaganda.
Absolutely.
And
It
the
is
thing...
complete which is exactly what the Russian government did. And that is, they had a phenomenal propaganda campaign. They have always been good at it. And that is what the attacks were that were done social media-wise. And that was done by the Russian government.
We can
straight up.
never, ever, ever forget, no matter what they did, Hillary Clinton still won the popular vote by almost 3 million votes. And that should mean something. They
and
ran...
when reading the report, it talked about how they targeted
Right.
the states that were going to be potential
Swing states. Yeah.
And I mean...
This is why we have to get rid of the Electoral College. Russia has ruined the Electoral College for us forever. Forever. I've never been a big fan. Being in Illinois, we have a lot of electoral votes because of the size of our population. But Wyoming also has an enormous amount of electoral votes, and they don't have the population.
Why?
Because that's how the Electoral College is written. Not every vote counts, right? The majority rules. So if 51 people in Wyoming vote for one party and 49 vote for the other, the only ones that count are the 51 votes. The only ones that count. The rest of you, just your votes didn't count. And that's the problem with the Electoral College. It was supposed to help smaller states like Rhode Island, low-density states like Georgia back in the day. And instead, what it's become is this antiquated way of doing things. When we were 13 colonies, it made a lot of sense. When we were 23 states, it made a lot of sense. As we have grown and our borders flow back and forth state to state, the Electoral College has lost its ability to have the integrity, to be the baseline for how we elect somebody.
So talking about integrity,
Yeah.
okay, I am not calling into question anyone's integrity. Clearly, I don't have the skill set to be able to do that.
Oh, but I will.
No. However, I will say that after reading it, we listening to it and then reading it. By the way, Heidi has a great suggestion if you haven't listened to it yet.
Oh my gosh. So about a month ago, a group of actors read the Mueller Report. It's the Mueller Report in 10 acts or something like that. You can look it up on YouTube. And John Lithgow, who was from Third Rock from the Sun, probably one of the funniest actors on the planet, he reads all the parts for Donald Trump. And I found it an equally terrifying listen, but so informative and easy.
Much more palatable than...
Very palatable, because it's people whose voices you're already familiar with and faces you're, familiar with. And, a couple hours and you'll hear the Mueller Report. And it's also a free download if you want to do like a book on tape. It's a free...
it's also on Stitcher. That's where I listen to it.
And Audible has it as a free download. So I had gotten it from Audible.
There's lots of different options.
Yeah.
But I strongly encourage you to listen to it, read it.
Do the one in 10X, because it's
so much better.
It's so easy your kids could even listen to it, except for one part where Donald Trump says, "I'm fucked."
He said it. Oh! That's it. We're done. Good night. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. This is the end of Heartland Mamas. Heidi said a swear word.
I did, and I don't usually,
But so the big two takeaways that I got from it was, one, the sheer level of pervasive
obstructionism.
No, well, not, the first part.
Okay.
The Russian interference for me, and the manipulative tactics and the propaganda that they did really effectively.
Very effectively.
Is terrifying.
Yes.
That so many people believed it and whatnot, and that we are in a gaslit society where we can't even really tell, like we said, here's Fighting Couch staring at the folks in the cages. We can all see what we all see. How can they deny it? So that's the sort of thing that is terrifying in
something
that respect.
That Lindsey Graham would clutch his pearls over would be the horrifying situation down at the border.
Why? The man has no soul. He has no soul. He has never really had a soul.
Is it like the Death Eaters from Harry Potter?
No. He was just born soulless. Pretty much.
Him and Paul Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell. All right. So going back, the second part, which is what you were bringing up, Heidi, was where there's a lot of discussion about who knew what and where and when.
Yeah.
And so as I was reading it, I was taking notes, and I feel like it's the Bible. I feel like I'm reading the first part of the Bible, because it's like, Kellyanne Conway begot Hope Hicks begot George Papadopoulos begot, like you would hear, Jebediah and Josiah and whatever, and you fall asleep. The names, I did a flow chart. It was...
Yeah, I did a flow chart too, and we were talking earlier about how when I read War and Peace, when you opened the front cover, it had like a fold-out timeline, okay? And I had to make a timeline to follow along, because I read it in one of the early versions that came out. Well, there's only really one version, but I read it.
The first release.
The first release.
The first printing, Heidi read War and Peace. Wasn't that like 1892 or something?
I did not read War and Peace. I'm not that old.
Wait a minute. When did that
Although
come
I do
out?
have a collection of first edition books. I don't think I have that one.
See? It was signed by
Tolstoy.
George Wallace.
Tolstoy.
Tolstoy was like in the that was 20s. Was that the 20s War and Peace came out?
God, I don't remember. I wasn't alive, so I had to read it in college.
Okay. I don't know.
So,
anyway, sorry.
But totally a worthy read. Not a summer read. It's more of a long winter's read. But without a doubt, the three most difficult things I've ever read: the Bible, cover to cover, several times. The Quran was...
Little Miss F-bomb over here. I read the Bible 22 times, cover to cover.
Well... It's one of those. Okay, here's my philosophy on reading the Bible.
I'm just a sinner over here.
The first time I did it, I went to Glenbard South, which is a public school. But my humanities teacher, whose name escapes me at the moment, gave us extra credit if we would read the Bible cover to cover as a work of literature. Okay. Now, I'd had him the year before, and he had us read...
Extra credit? Seriously?
The Book of Job as a Divine Comedy.
A whole the whole Bible as extra credit. How much extra credit did you get? It was not worth your time, my friend.
It was worth my time.
What, was it like a 2-letter grade extra credit? If you
I
like
don't
flunk
know.
the class, he'll give you an A?
Listen, I was that kind of student where they said extra credit, and I'm like, all over it, you know?
I'm like, only if the effort justifies what the hell I'm getting out of it. Come on.
I don't even remember. I know I got an A in the class,
All
but
right,
I probably would have
really
gotten an A
realist.
anyway. But here's the thing. It's like challenge accepted, right? So, and that's the bad part with me. You know, do a throwdown, and I'm like there. So, but I would say the Bible, the Quran was really hard to read. Book of Mormon was hard to read. I do read a lot of religious text because I'm curious, very curious, and sometimes I go, what, you know. But Tolstoy, very hard to read. And Mueller Report. Now, here's the thing with the Mueller Report is they just get going, and all of a sudden you're following along, and there's big blacked out areas. They call it redaction. So it could be a line or a couple of lines or a few paragraphs or a couple of pages. And then you got to get out your timeline that you wrote on my kitchen table. That's where I was at. And I would try to connect the dots because it's like opening the middle of the book and reading and trying to figure out who the protagonist is and
what happened in those lines. Like you missed, like you dropped a chapter. Like a chapter of the book is gone.
It's horrible.
And you're like, okay.
I was in the middle of reading a book the other day on my Apple books. And all of a sudden, Apple didn't carry that book any longer, and I'd paid for it, and it was gone. And I'd only read the first 3 chapters.
Oh, that's
I had to rebuy it on Nook because I was sucked in, you know, and I had to finish it. I know.
So, away from books, and we're saying the Mueller Report is a difficult read, but it does make it more palatable when you do it online, when you watch the actors do it or podcast it, you know.
Be
it was
part
fine.
of the 3% of Americans that
That
read
actually
the
know
damn
it.
report.
If not, tune in tomorrow where you will be able to watch Robert Mueller either evade questions like a ninja or answer questions that we didn't have answers to before. It's
But
going to
no.
be, I don't know, you know, the Republicans started flipping their brains. I'm not going to swear because I'm a good non-Christian girl. So I'm going to say words like sugar puff. Anyway.
I swear when she says it sounds like sugar something else. But
She does. She thought I said what she said earlier.
Well, here's
All right, anyway, go back. We got to stay on topic.
here's
Okay.
here's the thing. Is tomorrow when you watch it, Robert Mueller is an expert at saying a lot of words that add up to nothing purposefully because he's a litigator and he knows how to form this so he doesn't trap himself in perjury.
Oh, what I was going to say is that they all got real upset that he is bringing a witness with him.
Yes,
That he's bringing
a
one of his top
corroborating
prosecutor
witness
to the panel, and they were really, the Republicans are my favorite, good old Jim Jordan.
GYM.
Yeah, GYM, Jim. Look
Jim.
away, Jim. Just look away. We're gonna... Anyway, so, you know, it'll be really interesting, and it could go either way. I think you're right. I think they're going to be he's going to be very careful about what he says and how it is said. He may defer some to his colleague who's coming now. And I don't think we can depend on that. I think Congress knows that anything out of him is a long shot other than just what's in the report. I think they're kind of anticipating that. But I read the report, and I'll tell you the part that's the beginning of the Bible was the fact that so many people were connected to the Russian government and members of the Trump campaign, members of the Trump organization, family. Etc. So many different instances of contact. There is absolutely no way that he didn't know. And at some point, you have to say, okay, no one, not one person in that whole orbit went, hey, this is a foreign country that's an enemy. Let's not do this. This is bad.
No, but this is how Trump thinks. I want to put a big building in Russia, so I'm going to just play that game with them and converse back and forth because I don't know how to keep my big mouth shut and take their help because I want to build a big building there.
So one of the arguments, okay, she's right. One of what tied in is one of the arguments that they are awful. They are making is that, what I believe one person's impression was that, Mueller couldn't believe that he was actually doing what he said. It was that he couldn't believe that there was a broad enough conspiracy that he was saying so much in public about what he was doing, he couldn't believe it was actually happening.
Well,
now, I don't believe that Mueller actually said that. So that's someone's interpretation of what Mueller was thinking or feeling, but we don't know the validity.
But I tell you all the time, Marie, when your ego is larger than your intellect, you're in trouble, Donald Trump.
And your ambition, you're
Yes.
in trouble.
Right. So usually I say it's when your ego is bigger than your ambition, but in his case, his intellect. Because if he's thinking it, he's saying it. And part of the problem that Mueller had is the fact that he was so open about everything he was doing and so unapologetic.
They are running on Fox News. A PAC took out, I believe, $1 million worth of ads slandering Robert Mueller.
Why would you do that?
Before he testifies.
Why?
I kid you not. There are commercials right now out there.
On Fox?
Somewhere.
So they're playing to his base. Do you think it's going to change? Do you think, because you and I are going to a Trump rally on August 1st in Cincinnati. Oh, we didn't.
Incognito. Shh. We're like ninjas. Don't tell anyone.
Well, we're going.
It's going to be good. But it's a secret.
We may need mail.
My husband is terrified that we will be either in jail or murdered.
I think the last time I had this reaction from my husband is when I asked him, or told him that I wanted to go to El Salvador to help be an election observer. And he about
Steve even goes, I can't believe Stan's okay with this. And he's like, first off, I felt my husband is phenomenal. He's very he's very women powered. He defers to women and loves, and is just really respectful of everybody. Okay?
My husband just wants to make sure the animals are being fed.
This maternal instinct, this machismo kicked in when I said that's what we were going to do. And he said, who's going to supervise you? Who's going to make sure you're okay? And I'm like, seriously, dude, I have survived so much more than a Trump rally. I'm really not too worried, honey.
After, I think he was really worried, my husband was really worried about me when I went to protest the war down in Chicago when we marched down Lakeshore Drive. But you have to understand, we marched down Lakeshore Drive, but I didn't know where I was because I went with other people and I don't know anything about Chicago. I noticed the lake looked really pretty. I didn't know we were on Lakeshore Drive.
Somehow I have a feeling it's going to be a little more raucous than walking down Lakeshore Drive.
Right. Well, it was we were singing Beatles songs and carrying candles, so it was not raucous. It was very peaceful.
No. I
don't
think it's going to be. Anyway, let's go back to.
So here's the other thing that I got. The takeaway on this is that there are people surrounding Trump, Jim McGahn being one of them, that Trump gave direct orders to obstruct justice and to do some really horrible things. And he didn't do it because he thought Trump was so crazy and criminal that he didn't want to get sucked into it. So he didn't do it. He didn't follow orders. So that was part of the problem Mueller had, is like he gave the order to obstruct justice and to collude in a horrible...
He would have had to have followed through on what the president had wanted him to do.
And he didn't, because he knew it was wrong, and he thought our president was nuts. So, that goes a long way when your closest people are like...
I watched the Senate Intel Committee on the border crisis today, and it was great. The senators that were involved were fantastic. They were just...
On both sides?
Excellent. Oh, I didn't see any on the other side. There weren't any Republicans there. I don't know. Just a lot of Democrats. I'm like, wait a minute. But shouldn't it be a Republican? Huh, another Democrat, huh? Oh, okay. So
and here's my, because I didn't get to watch it, of course, because I had to work today, but wondering if any of them showed up, because, so many times none of the GOP show up.
It got lost in the mail. Or maybe Russia interceded that email and sent it somewhere else. Speaking of which, The Russian interference was banana pants. My biggest question is I need to learn more about the statutes and the laws that they used to investigate, because there is absolutely no way you can see what you read, hear what you hear, and not say,
Oh my God!
"Are you kidding? This man is not that lucky."
No.
Like you would
Lucky?
have to be like horseshoes falling out of your ass every minute to even come 1/8 of how lucky to be able to get through all of that without any possibility of stink attaching to you. It's everywhere. It's there. Why
it
can't
permeates
it's
everything,
insane.
everything he does.
And the fact that we can't believe anything that comes out of his mouth, or half of the news, or
Listen, I told you, I reported one of his tweets today as being
Yeah.
harmful and abusive, and it targeted.
they won't do anything. They've decided he's a public interest, and therefore they won't.
But the thing is we have to keep reporting these things because he's going to get somebody killed with his rhetoric, and the thing is he ramps up the rhetoric, ramps it up because he doesn't want you to think about what Bob Mueller's going to say tomorrow. He doesn't want you to think about what's going on at the border. He doesn't want you to think about how he's colluded with Russia.
He had to walk back the statement he made about the partnership with Guatemala and Mexico.
How many
and
times has he
asylum
walked
seekers. He's had to.
back
He's like, and now Guatemala. Guatemala is in big trouble. Big, I think was the tweet. I just can't even.
Bigly.
Yeah. No. So.
Is it like the trade deal we did
and
for...
I read the report, and I listened to the report very objectively. This sounds like I'm very...
Yeah.
Because, I'm not a big fan of the guy. But I went into it with an open mind because I'm thinking, okay, Mueller had this reputation, or the media painted him like this, or a PAC painted him like this. Somebody made him to be this messiah, and we all came to pin our hopes on him. And so then, you see all these inconsistencies. And so I read it with a really honest, open mind. Like, what am I going to learn? What don't I know? And I just, it was extremely disheartening to see that what I saw, and I'm not a legal scholar or a lawyer.
I found it to be literally soul crushing.
Right.
I mean, this is our democracy that we...
And infuriating when you read about Russian interference, when you read that our voting system, not just what they talk about, the the bots and the trolls and the social media persuasion, actually in states that it came down to getting election data, getting information, getting people's information who are registered voters, purging voter rolls. It actually happened, and it's mind-blowing that
again.
We are refusing to address
Mitch McConnell will not let any of this onto the Senate floor. No voter security measures allowed onto the Senate floor. Because Mitch McConnell doesn't care. He doesn't care what happens.
I'm sorry. It's Mick bitch.
Oh.
Thank you. Or Mitch the McTurtle. One of the two.
I don't know. It's Mick the treason weasel. Because what he's doing is treasonous.
Hair fear, I like better.
Well, that's,
Yeah, I know.
I get so...
But it was infuriating to me. I mean, that was my takeaway.
I'm just trying to picture somebody doing this. I would say, let's go back as far as LBJ, or even Nixon, doing something like this. We would have run him out of town on a rail. We would have tarred and feathered him.
How far we have fallen. And how much our country has been torn apart. So,
It's
honestly, I vacillate between wanting to storm the castle and do a Marie Let Them Eat Cake, Antoinette. But also then understanding that we really have to educate, and we really have to fight for what we believe in. And we talked about that in our last show. And
we are in a fight for our very democracy.
We
for
need
our
to
country.
get as many people registered to vote as possible, and then make sure they get to the polls. We need to get as many people engaged, because we don't know what we're up against as far as actual elections go.
We are up against a terrible cyber breach. I mean, a cyber breach that is beyond the scope most of us can think in. It's beyond the terms I can think in.
Right.
And to know that we have this giant cyber breach that they literally ran the numbers for a person to win by the largest margin in a popular vote of anyone ever in any election, Hillary Clinton, and still lose to a person who would sell his mother to put up a tower. I'm so appalled. I just can't. I just can't believe we're at this point.
You know what? We're hoping that we can actually recover from this and that we have some sort of justice, and we have to put faith in the system even though we're questioning it now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all we have right now, because that's all that we have.
That's all that we have. And the fact is that no matter how long this has to take, no matter how long this journey to get to the truth is out there. We just have to be unfailingly dedicated to getting resolution. We can't get tired. We get frustrated. We get angry. We get soul crushed. But we can't give up.
We got to get back up and fight again.
We can't surrender on this. It's just too important. And we may not get the answers that we were hoping for or praying for tomorrow from Robert Mueller, and I don't think we will. But I do believe that this is a huge step in the right direction. At least he didn't refuse and have to be subpoenaed, you know. And that's the problem, is getting people to come in, because they subpoena people all the time. And
what I think is interesting is the Mueller report goes through a certain date, but the obstruction that has gone on between now, that date when the Mueller report ended, and now that we've all seen take place in every way possible.
Yes.
And yeah, we have to get, anyway, we want you to watch the Mueller interviews tomorrow, his testimony. Let us know what you think. Heartlandmamas.com.
Be sure and weigh in, because we'd love your feedback on hearing Mueller tomorrow. I know I have to work tomorrow, so my husband's recording it.
I'm going to be gone for half of it working too. I've got a coach and then meeting, and I'm like, no.
But don't worry, we're going to watch it all the way through, and I can't wait to see. And I know my Twitter will be blowing up all day while I'm working.
Oh yeah.
With people who are watching it and tweeting live. So I want you to watch it for us. Let us know what you think, because we'd love your feedback on this. We want to know how you think this impacts us as a nation, us as a people, and to know that we are so much more than this report. We are so much more than
we are better than
at.
What has happened, and we are all, I think everyone that I know is committed to making us even better. So
wait,
we want to say
our next show is going to be about the upcoming debates, which we're super psyched about.
We are going to be at a debate watch party. We're going to be in Boone County at the Boone County Fair doing a couple-hour show up there, talking to folks. So if you're interested in having us come out, please reach out. You can get us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Someday I'll figure it out. It just seems way too artsy for me. YouTube and any of your major podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, Heidi and I do this, and we love that we're gaining more and more followers. It means the world to us if you could share our podcast, our YouTube.
Yeah.
Let people know that we're here and we're a voice, and maybe bring some peace to some folks out there, or cause them to cry into their beer.
Well, you know what?
It's
nice to know that you have
there's a voice out there that is like you. That was how we ran our campaigns. We were real people. We're not anyone, and that's who we are. So we would love any help you can give us in that respect, and we appreciate everything that you do in being our listeners. So again, it's Heartland Mamas, MAMAS. Reach us in every way imaginable. If you type it in, you'll find us. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, ask your friends to like, comment, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.